The difference between Bitcoin's long positions and short positions is absolutely crazy. If Bitcoin crashes towards $100,000, we will liquidate over $14 billion worth of long positions. Is Bitcoin about to crash? Let's analyze.
My crypto paradise.
Hello ladies and gentlemen of the Paradise Club, this is Simon from My Crypto Paradise, and as you can see, Bitcoin is right now creating the E-wave of our rising wedge pattern that we have been talking about in the previous video. With Paradise Family VIPs, we have just taken a secondary target on our Bitcoin long position exactly at $111,700,000, which is basically right here at the top. The question is, what's gonna happen next? Can Bitcoin invalidate this rising wedge formation, and can we start breaking to the upside and turn this resistance into support? Or is this all, ladies and gentlemen, and we are right now about to start going to the downside? We will analyze everything, and let's start with taking a look what happened in the crypto world. So for example, what is very important, and we have on our website mycryptoparadise.com, we have been reporting that Bhutan moves $23 million in Bitcoin to Binance, nails the market top again. They are selling exactly at the top. It's really great to watch their address of the Bhutan government. Another thing, FTX creditor fights back as recovery trust moves to block Chinese and global users from $16 billion payout. Ladies and gentlemen, very interesting story. There is a possibility of a Chinese discrimination, so definitely read about it. Right now, let's take a look what's going on behind the scenes. As you know from the intro, the difference between the current long positions and short positions market is absolutely crazy. We can confirm that on our website mycryptoparadise.com when analyzing the accumulated funding rates. As you can see, if you have watched the previous video, you know that this is much worse than it was before, right? There is so much more long positions right now than short positions, and that's just increasing the probability of a huge long squeeze incoming in the market. It's not gonna happen on 100%, but it's definitely at these times great thing to be very careful with over leveraged long positions. If we take a look at our liquidation pools, as you know from the previous video, I have been updating to you about this liquidity pool. As you can see, it's right now gone. The market makers been pushing market to the upside, and they liquidated the short positions that had their liquidation levels and stop losses right here. From the current market structure, we can see some liquidity pool at around $107,000, and the immediate one below us at around $109,000. Above us, there is one at around $111,000. So careful about that. If we take a look behind the scenes, we will analyze some big buy walls and sell walls, ladies and gentlemen. But first of all, I want to share with you the CVD, the cumulative volume delta, that I have been sharing with you also in the previous video. We will take a look at the difference between futures and spot market, okay? So as you can see, during this move, we have been having loads of increased long positions. It's also visible on the open interest, and right now during this consolidation, the open interest is declining, but not that much, right? We are not even at the half of what we have created during this movement to the upside. Also on the futures exchange, as you can see, there's been some offload and entering into short positions, but the long positions that have been opened during these two candles are still staying mostly in the market. But if we take a look at the spot exchange, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the CVD right here. You can see that there was some pushing volume from the spot exchanges, which is great, and market makers really used it to liquidate the liquidation pool that we have had right here. If the market makers wouldn't be pushing on spot exchange, these short positions would not be liquidated right now, okay? Futures market alone would not be able to push it to the upwards, but right now you can see that the spot exchange is already offloading all the buys that have been created right here, and during this consolidation you can see that we are selling heavily on spot, okay? That is increasing the probabilities that the rising wedge pattern is going to be finished, and with the highest probability upon confirmations, if there will be confirmation we'll be talking about, we might start moving to the downside. But we have not changed this into a proper resistance just yet. We'll be talking about that, but this is very important to understand. The spot exchange right now is really selling a lot, as you can see, okay, during this consolidation right here, and these consolidations are usually the perfect place for distribution, and that seems what's happening happening right now. If you take a look at some big buy walls and sell walls, the immediate ones from the futures exchange, the sell walls are around $111,000, $112,000, and on the spot exchange we can see $115,000, $34 million sell wall, ladies and gentlemen, a big one, a big one. Right below us, as you can see, there was a buy wall, but it definitely, right now, this was definitely a spoofing, because as you can see, as the wick, the price action came closer to that buy wall, they basically get rid of the buy wall and they removed it, okay? And so right now, this is spoofing, this is something what keeps the price in this consolidation zone right now, so they have enough time with the highest probability for distribution. It looks like this right now. If the market changes, we will be seeing that firsthand, but at the moment it looks like they are offloading their coins right here during this consolidation silently, and what's helping them is this basically buy walls and sell walls. So the price action cannot move, okay? So it's consolidating and they are just using the liquidity from the retail that is appearing during this consolidation for offloading their coins, it seems, all right? But the next immediate support zone from the buy wall perspective is right here at around $108,000 and $108,000 lower boundary at around $320, so $108,300. So this is going to be really working as a nice demand zone. As you can see, historic price action is also having some nice demand right here from the previous price action, so this will be working very nicely. We have also VPVR right here, and as you can see at the moment we are working with this VPR volume profile at around $111,000. Let's take a look at the technical analysis right now. We will start with ultra high time frame, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we are trying to break from this resistance, which is also marking the previous local high right here at this price, and if the weekly candle will be able to close above this resistance area and on lower time frames you will be able to reclaim it, I will be targeting with the Paradise team 121 and possibly also $135,000 before we will start some bearish price action. But at the moment we are still fighting with the resistance, and the resistance is holding, okay? You can see these wick outs right here, and we have been testing it already for once, twice, thrice. This is a fourth time, ladies and gentlemen. The resistance of course is getting weaker every time you test it, but as you can see so far it's holding pretty strong, and until we can reclaim it, this is a pretty strong resistance, and you should not be longing at resistances, okay? You should not be FOMO buying at resistances the same way that you shouldn't be panic selling at supports, right? So right now we are also monitoring the oscillators like RSI, also the MACD oscillator, where we already have a bearish divergence on the histogram. We also need to have a bearish cross to confirm this, but the stochastic RSI is already in overbought area. Ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting from the oscillator perspective on some confirmations. I want to see a clear breakout from the RSI as well. I want to see a bearish cross, but if we get the confirmations from the oscillators, it will really increase the probabilities that right now the structure we are forming right here, take a look closely at this, is very similar to the one we have had at 2021. As you can see, the price action is absolutely similar, ending diagonal that we have been correctly predicting before the drop, you know, then we had some kind of a deviation right here that happened right here as well, then some ABC formation, and that's what we have right now as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if we will not be able to break below above this resistance, I will not be targeting 121, 135, but I will be looking at the idealized corrective wave without this kind of extension that would made out of this ABC zigzag, a flat pattern, and I will be looking right away that we are forming right now the first higher degree wave of our impulse that will take us towards $44,000 before we can hit $240,000 by the end of 2026, as you know. So I'm looking if we are about to get bearish for this price action to happen very, very quickly, okay? But let's analyze right now. Let's zoom in into this price action right here. Let's take a look what's going on the daily time frame, and we can see a beautiful breakout above this resistance right here. But these are very, very often fake outs, you know. What happened right here? Also, we have been breaking the resistance. We have also closed a candle, daily candle, the next one right here above the resistance, but voila, did we had a reclaim? We didn't, right? Because this next candle was retesting this resistance and it didn't turn it into a support, and that happened That is why it happened this price action lower that resulted in around 9% crash. And you know that we have been catching that with Paradise Family VIPs. Right now, something similar can happen. We are at a very important 1.618 Fibonacci retracement level, ladies and gentlemen. That is why it's extremely important. If you don't want to be catched in some fake outs that are being manipulated by the market makers, you need to wait for confirmations, right? So I like this volume, okay, but you know that the market makers could just push in the price to the upside to liquidate the short positions, but as you can see right now, during this consolidation in this candle, they are already offloading, right? Their coins on spot exchange. So if we don't want to be catched in some fake out, we need to wait for confirmation. So breakout, perfect, all right, but then you need to close another candle above the resistance. And if you want to make like your trading really long-term profitable, you need to be waiting for confirmations to make sure that your trades are coming with the highest probability possible, all right? So you need to wait for a retest of this resistance zone, and you want to wait to see if it's gonna hold and it will be turned into a support, okay? That's gonna be watched. We are watching that with the Paradise team on a lower time frames, ladies and gentlemen. So right now we have some kind of a retest, but it's only on one candle, and this candle didn't close yet, right? We still have 9 hours, and mostly what's interests me all over time is the third candle, the daily candle, okay? So we are watching very closely how that's gonna unfold. On the oscillator side, we still don't have a bearish divergence. On RSI, we don't have a bearish divergence. On MACD, neither. We have a stochastic RSI in overbought area, but I want to see some confirmations for bearishness on RSI and MACD as well. If we will be able to reclaim this into support, we definitely go in higher towards $121,000. However, if this is going to be just a fake out, you know what's coming next, right? A huge liquidation of the long positions that are right now in the market. Let's zoom in inside this price action. Let's take a look what's going on medium time frame, on 4-hour time frame. That means each candlestick is basically representing 4-hour trading activity. So as you know from the previous videos, I do believe that we are forming this leading diagonal, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since April. Let me show you this chart right here, descending leading diagonal that is basically forming the first wave, the higher degree wave, right? So this, from the Elliott wave perspective, can happen in a impulse formation or a leading diagonal. If we will confirm that this is leading diagonal, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting new motive mode wave impulse towards $44,000, but it needs to be confirmed, right? But you know that for the first time since April, we have created 5 moves to the downside right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that means there is the change of the trend with the highest probability, right? Before, during this structure to the upside, we have been making to the downside only corrective mode waves like a triangle or a flat pattern, right? So that was basically meaning that the price action to the upside is much stronger, and we are indeed in some corrective, higher degree corrective mode wave, but that is pointing to the upwards. But right now we are changing the trend, right? It seems like the secondary wave was also a corrective mode wave, and that's just confirming that the trend to the upside is right now weakening. So if we will be able to complete this leading diagonal by the 5th wave that should finish at around $93,000, it will confirm that we will need to go even lower than $93,000, because the trend, the higher degree trend, will be changing. So inside of this leading diagonal, you know that we have the 4th wave right now that is a corrective mode wave, and we are forming that inside of a rising wedge pattern, right? Rising wedge pattern, you can learn that on our website mycryptoparadise.com. It's basically subdivides itself into 5 smaller waves. Each of them are corrective, and right now, as you can see, we are at the apex of our triangle right here. We are exactly at the apex of the triangle, and now it's the decision time. We have created A wave, B wave, C wave, D wave. We had a deviation of the D wave below the ascending trend line, but we are back at our upper ascending trend line that perfectly worked as a resistance, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final E wave right now. If we will be able to start reclaiming this rising wedge pattern, aka from the wave perspective, contracting triangle, and we will be able to reclaim back this resistance, this will be the highest probability that we are moving down. Together with that, if you are very conservative trader, you definitely want to wait for more confirmations one of them is also a reclaim of this moving average trend line. Just break is not enough. You need to also wait for a retest, right? For a retest of this moving average trend line or any resistance. Then you need to watch the market action, the price action on lower time frames like 1 hour, 15 minutes, even 5 minutes for some double top formations, some bearish candlestick patterns, and then you can say, okay, this is really moving, this is really being switched into a resistance, and then you can aggressively go with very, very high probabilities. And you can also make a nice trades because you can at this time, if you are trading with a great confirmation strategies, place your stop losses very tight because you will be placing them above major resistances, and the sell targets because you understand the price action you can place very, very far away. And if this is going to break to the downside, you know that we are targeting $93,000 for multiple reasons, and one of them you might ask, like, but here is a descending trend line, doesn't this gonna work as a support? Well, because of the rule of alternation, as you can see right now, we are having some deviation above this descending trend line. Because of the rule of alternation, we will also have a deviation below this descending trend line that is working right now as a support, and I do believe that $93,000 and also $88,000 will provide us with a very, very nice support. This is 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level. This is confluences of many levels together with VPVR and the historic price action. So definitely this is going to be the main target at around $93,000 and $88,000. However, if we will start switching right now this resistance into a support, and we will be also able to reclaim the rising wedge pattern and turn it into a support, I will be targeting $121,000, ladies and gentlemen. So if we will have a clear reclaim, we will be targeting $121,000, and again this is going to be working as a support. So beautiful stop losses will be possible, and the next move will be around 10%, which is absolutely great. Right now what's very important to watch out for is the stochastic RSI. We are in an overbought area on 4-hour time frame, and right now it needs to cool down, okay? And it's very important to watch the stochastic RSI together with what is happening with the price action, okay? So if this stochastic RSI will start to cool down and the price action will be still holding, this resistance and will be starting to turn it into a support, that will be a great sign for the bulls, okay? Because it will mean that the momentum is going down, however the price action is forming. It will create some kind of bullish divergence, and basically it will increase the probabilities that we will start moving to the upside. However, if we will right now start to go to the downside with the stochastic RSI, this line right here will not hold as a support, but it will be still acting as a resistance. It will increase the probabilities for the bears, and it will show you that the bears are the ones right now moving the market and the ones in power. As you know, I'm recording for you every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, so I will again see you on Saturday. Until then, smash the like button, trade smart with a proper trading strategies and tactics, and I will see you next time. Cheers.